Hi, Acacia. We're going to take a look at your 5 characteristics of light project and give you a little bit of a feedback or a lot of feedback, however it comes out. Let's take a look at the posting first. Direction looks good. Intensity, temperature, good. Looks like you're having no trouble with organizing and getting everything kind of posted up there. Everything looks like it's in very good order. The exposures look fine. In other words, the range between the lights and the darks all seem to be what I would say normal is. So your camera's able to measure the light appropriately and that kind of thing. So let's take a look at these individually. Direction 5, direction 6, 7, 7, and 8. Yeah. And then 9. 9 being the extra one. Okay, cool. The only one that sort of looks a little bit off here is your direction 1, which would be directly next to the camera. It looks like that might not be this. It doesn't look like the light. It looks like the light is coming from the side here, of course. Direction 1 position would be where you have the camera and then you have the light pretty much like right on top of it. It's the opposite of number 5, which is directly behind the set. It would be back here. That's okay. You may have just misposted here. You can easily fix that. I'm sure you shot one with it that way. The rest of them look like they're in the right place here. First of all, overall, as I was looking at all of your images, it was very precise, very sort of organized. Very calm, very natural looking compositions. Even though you're putting things next to one another, you've got these objects, you're placing them, your compositions don't feel self-conscious, I guess would be a good word to use. They appear to be composed, but they don't appear to be sort of noodled with or fiddled with too much. It seems like you are sort of finding a very sort of harmonious place to locate these objects, and in front of the camera, it doesn't seem like you're having too much trouble in terms of where do I put a thing. It's more about where you're lighting things, and then the other observation would be for you taking like 6 inches closer to everything. If you were 6 inches closer to every single photograph on here, your images, all of these images would be improved like doubly. Because what will happen is just a little bit closer, even on images like, well, you're doing it pretty well here. This is what I mean as a result of coming in those 6 inches closer. See how rhythmic, and you see how harmonious these images feel, how not bottle-like they are, how they don't feel like you're making photographs of bottles, but you are composing shapes, you are arranging things. Even this one where you're a little bit farther away, you're using the shapes. You've got this element running off, this element running off, this one almost runs off. This is what I mean about getting 6 inches closer. If you had done this on all of these, this one, this one, this one, even these over here, if we were right up in here, so putting your hand over that area, over the bottom like this, just to see, all of a sudden what we're getting is this sort of interaction of shapes and light. It also identifies the areas in most of these images that feel like what you want us to see. For instance, in this image, we've got a wonderful sort of area to breathe. I'm not suggesting that this image is failing in some way because it's not close enough. It would transform itself if it were closer. It would give you a whole nother feel. And I want to be sure to point that out to you, because you've got this beautiful harmony happening with this landscape, this sort of passive negative space that's going on back here. Passive negative space, meaning that it's not tense. It doesn't activate the space. This in here, this space right here, the space right in here, this is called active negative space, meaning it is, there's a tension, there's a flow to it, and it's activated as a particular element, just like a positive shape would be, the shape of the bottle itself. If you were to be coming in on those and removing this passive space and this passive space by coming in closer, creating active space here, active space here, active space here, what you would be achieving would be just this heightened sense of energy, while at the same time having that unity of organization that you have in the objects themselves. So you have the objects really sort of carefully located, and just the very next step for you would be to, let's be just as critical about this and this. It's working fine the way that it is. It will work better if you were able to, or be more effective if you were up just a little bit closer. Exposure-wise, these are looking really good as far as that goes. The difference between these images, which are getting into reflectors rather than secondary lights, that is going to give you a whole nother kind of look. Notice how these with the secondary lights are taking on a very graphic kind of appearance. They have this kind of harshness to them that the others don't. I mean, this is a good harshness. This is an effective way to address the multiple lights, even though they're competing for attention with one another. They're a little close to being the same intensity. The key light on this side here and the fill light over here, they're very close to one another. They might have benefited from more separation. Still, the compositions here are outstanding, Acacia. Really, really outstanding compositions. However, here, the tonal quality of these are really resonating. They really have a beautiful sense of shape and value to them, and volume to what we're looking at. It's just, if we can combine the compositions of the other one with the volume that you're getting on these, wow, what else could we do? You would really have some amazing photography here. Now we get into the last images here, where you're now using reflectors. You're using, let's make sure that you're identifying it as such, hardness, yes. You're activating the space and modifying the nature of the shadows. If in contrast, we're activating the gradation, or the pattern between the lightest light and the darkest dark, in using diffusers over our light, that is going to affect the shadows. It's going to affect the nature of the shadows. It does affect the nature of the highlights as well. We just are seeing it more dramatically in the shadow areas. You're using it very effectively. You can achieve a lot of the same results with two lights and a reflector by diffusing one or diffusing both. You can diminish the intensity of one of the lights, like the fill light, by diffusing the fill light and not diffusing the key light. There's all sorts of different combinations that you could use in this case. what am really interested in is how you are going to deal with, as we continue forward, with depth of field, where you're going to be controlling how deep your focus goes. So when we have an image like this, can we get this area to be in focus, yet the back of this bottle to be completely soft and out of focus? Then you're really going to be able to guide and train our eyes into different directions. Hopefully you are seeing a lot of the different combinations here with the temperature. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but hopefully that's okay with you. Hopefully you're able to see a lot of the variations here with the temperature experiment. This one really was to get you introduced to the subtlety of the temperature dial on the lighting, with also combination of that with the white balance control you have on your camera. Many of these projects, the kind of specifications in there, where I'm saying go in and modify the white balance, or go in and set your camera to desaturation or monotone instead of full color. Of course, this is aesthetic and to kind of give you a direction, but it's also to introduce you to these controls, where they are, how they work. The more you go to them, the more you're going to be familiar with them, the more they're going to come into your mind when you're thinking of the possibilities or the options you have. Just like you have lots of options of different paintbrushes and different types of paint and different canvases, you have all sorts of different controls of lighting, different temperatures of lighting. You'll notice that we have different controls in terms of depth of field, the lenses that we use. All of these things are meant to not build technology, but to offer you the variety of things that you could use in combination to achieve just what you're trying to get. Repetition of shape, it's clear that you have a really good, solid grasp of two-dimensional design principles, which is wonderful. By now, we would want you to be there. We want you to just sort of have those design principles, juxtaposition of objects, rhythm, repetition, patterns, that kind of thing. Those are, hopefully becoming more and more natural to you as you continue to use them. Just because we start to introduce other elements doesn't mean we want to kind of forget about those at all. We will actually want to take advantage of them so that the new photographs are that much more powerful. So keep doing this kind of stuff, coming in close, backing far away, even playing around with what you're doing here is a very soft focus, which is only clear focused here, and then it goes soft here. That may have been incidental. You didn't really mean to do it, but it achieves a certain look within these photographs that I think is really, really effective. So I think you're doing an excellent job so far. I'm very much interested to see how you move into some of these aesthetic and controls, and how we are able to incorporate some of the other projects where we're using some other tools and other times of day and things like that. I'm really interested to see where your photography goes. So that's what I have, and we'll see you in the studio. Bye now.